You know, me and the boys love to go driving in the snow because it's proper banter, especially when Johnny loses it and smashes his little mini Metro into the curb. And so Alaskan Truck Simulator got me proper excited as I thought to myself, boys and girls, this could be even more banter. What I found though was not what I was expecting, and with that, it's making me wonder, has Euro Truck Simulator or American Truck Simulator got a competitor to worry about? Well, grab yourself a lovely hot cuppa and let's find out if you mother truckers need to consider this one upon release. Now this is of course only a demo, people, and there are a lot of changes still to happen before release. I called it a review of the actual demo, but I'm going to give updated thoughts upon the final version. Now straight up, Alaskan Truck Simulator does things very different to American Truck Simulator in that you get yourself a first person mode where you instantly discover that there is more to this game than just trucking about and calling other drivers twats. However, therein lies some of its more inherent problems, as it wants to be a simulator detailing how it is to be a Billy No Mates driving through Alaska, but it doesn't really simulate the right aspects of the gameplay and instead simulates utter nonsense. Let Reggie explain what he means. The identity crisis comes in the fact that the game demands more than you just driving. You start out at your base where you're asked to fetch some meat from the bloody fridge, a lovely juicy bit of deer no less, and you're asked to cook it in the oven. An interesting start, shall we say, boys and girls. Next up, you're grabbing tools from chains to hammers and whatnot. Only then are you allowed to get in your truck, and that's when you realise there's all these little switches that you need to manually turn on, from the dashboard lights to the bloody heater. Otherwise, and I quote, you'll lose energy from getting too cold out in the freezing bollocks winter. And at this point, boys and girls, I am interested in how this is all panning out, as ultimately trucking in Alaska is indeed a dangerous job, because I too have watched ice road truckers like the rest of you, but it all starts to fall apart when you actually start driving. You see, I'm not a scientist or engineer, but I do know driving a 10-ton bloody truck at 50 miles an hour on ice roads is a bad idea. Not in Alaskan Truck Simulator though, oh no, you float about without fuss, and rarely did I struggle or come to an issue on the ice. And that for me is its standout feature versus a game like American Truck Simulator, because in Alaska, surely the road is your greatest enemy, where it takes true skill to drive these icy roads and where disaster could be at every bloody turn. The one thing you wanted to simulate the most, it fails miserably on, and it needs some proper work here to ensure the challenge is brought up to par with the reality of driving in the white stuff. No, not cocaine, people, I'm talking about the bloody snow. Now I say this about all truck games to be fair, but the truck itself, it just feels like it's gliding about the place without any real feedback from the road surface. In my American Truck Simulator review, I said the exact same thing. There just isn't those little bumps and cracks that you get the feedback on. As you progress your journey, you get to get some lovely diesel at a very good price, which reminds me of the year 2020. It demands that you pull up, get out the truck and manually fill the tank. I like it, people, because a little bit of realism is nice to have, and something I wish the American Truck Simulators did a little bit more. The first person elements included really start to pay off here, but then comes more nonsense. You'll get messages of you better eat or you're going to starve to death, even though you ate a hunk of your bloody cooked venison only recently. Starve to death, you say, in the bloody truck on the road? Are you having a bloody laugh, people? I did a quick little Google search and I couldn't find one case of someone dying and starving themselves to death in a truck while delivering cargo. What utter tosh. And then comes the sleep and fatigue. Now this is actually a reality of truck driving and can be deadly, so you get to rest in your little cabin having a Tommy tank, which again I quite like, but the frequency here is far too much, and likewise you can literally just stop your vehicle anywhere you like on the road and have a little nap, even if that means blocking the bloody place. It's bloody silly. And then come other aspects where you're driving along and the bridge is out. Authorities have blocked it off for a reason. I'm sure they have a good reason, people, but not here. Oh no, you're expected to get out your bloody truck with your tools, no less, remove the barriers from the authorities and fix the bloody bridge yourself. And it's perfectly okay to drive your massive fuck off truck over this wooden structure without any care in the world. A simulator, you say? What am I missing here, boys and girls? It's bloody ridiculous. The issue is simple for Reggie. There are areas which are worth simulating, such as fatigue, such as putting chains on your wheels, even though they've got these shitty quick time events which they could just get rid of because they don't add anything to the game, or the way that it simulates how you should manually have to attach trailers or fill your fuel tank. These are strengths which go above and beyond games like American Truck Simulator, where the first person here really stands out. But then there's the nonsense and the drivel of the simulation, like the starving to death from not eating your third round of venison in 2 hours, fixing rickety wooden bridges, or driving 50 miles an hour on ice without a care in the world and crashing into vehicles without any bloody consequence. It wants to be a simulator, but it's simulating a lot of nonsense. It sort of loses focus here on what are the important parts of Alaskan truck driving. But then the simulator sort of pulls it all back again with some of its graphical techniques. You see, in American Truck Simulator, I always felt the weather, it never felt treacherous. It was like when you drove in rain, it was just really something nice to look at. In Alaskan Truck Simulator though, a nighttime blizzard can spell disaster. As snow, it clings to the windscreen, and visibility is genuinely reduced to zero. You have to ensure you got your wits about you, and it's here where you start to see more of the challenge develop. It's a great moment of the game, and you can tell it's heading in the right direction of simulation. Speaking of snow, I guess the game is always going to look and feel very white, so I don't blame them too much for the colour palette, but I do think it looks a little bit dreary, and maybe some other graphical features such as a better skybox or higher fidelity snow animation on the windscreen would do wonders for the sim here. Likewise, the classic pointy trees are back, like you get in all simulator games, and I will say the lighting is actually better at night when driving, as it feels a bit more scary, but during the day it could do with some work. I think there's a lack of shadows, for example. It just, I don't know, boys and girls, it just feels a bit bland and uninspiring to drive through. The truck itself is modelled well, and whilst it doesn't have the same level of detail as say Euro Truck Simulator or American Truck Simulator, for the first round it's actually pretty strong stuff. The game ran pretty well for me with only occasional stutter, but in this demo I'm not sure I was actually getting 4K, and for sure they do need to add a field of view slider, as it's pretty horrendous as it currently is, but look, they're easy ones to fix, so there's no concerns there. So overall then, it's a pretty decent looking game that could be added to in due course once they nail down these basics. Sound wise, it's early days, and I think American Truck Simulator also struggled with sound when all you're really doing is just driving about the place calling each other wankers. However, there is still work to be done here, and for sure a lot more variety needs to be added. One area that drove me insane was the bloody radio feature, which has some frankly terrible music, and even when you turn off the radio it feels like you're haunted because the music, it just continues to play. There's no way of stopping it. And I get they may not want to steal the American Truck Simulator way of having a real life radio station playing, but they should certainly provide some kind of inbuilt plug-in that can play maybe Spotify or your own MP3s to make it a bit more authentic. The important sounds like crashing, sudden braking on the ice, or driving at breakneck speed, they lack any real oomph, and so it needs to convey that feeling of impending doom when you've made a mistake. So overall then, Alaskan Truck Simulator, it's made Reggie curious, I'd say. I think it's one I'll add to the wish list, and for you truckers out there, it's something different to American Truck Simulator or European Truck Simulator, but based on what I'm seeing so far, it's not the killer and has a long way to go to finesse its core gameplay elements. It's a simulator that simulates the wrong things, and much more focus needs to be applied to the actual driving, where the Alaskan roads are notorious for being such a treacherous place. But when Reggie can bomb it up and down the Alaskan dirt track at 50 miles per hour, I have to question, boys and girls, where this game might eventually end up. It's one to watch cautiously, but until next time, love you lots. Reggie out.